My name's Adelle Onyango, and welcome to another episode of Legally Clueless. No, seriously, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Hey you, welcome to episode 329. I'm a bit confused because it's not normal for me to give you 2 episodes in a week. What? What's going on? Anyway, welcome to this episode. If you're an OG member, I have nothing but love for you. And if you're new to this family, welcome. Make sure you officially join by signing up on our website, legallycluelessafrica.com. And of course, join us on our YouTube channel where we have more shows happening there. That's Legally Clueless Africa. Link is in the show notes. Why am I dropping in on you on a Wednesday? Reason being, I wanted to talk about something that is super important to me and I think could be important to you as well. I want to first appreciate everybody who is currently in business or about to start a business. It doesn't matter how big or how small your business is. High five. I appreciate you. That journey is different. I don't like saying it's not easy. It's different. It's different because a lot of our socialization, I don't know if it's the same for you, but like in my family, I'm the only person who is in full-time business, to be honest. Actually, who is in business altogether. My socialization was you go to school, you work hard, you get a good job with a nice fat title. And then while you're working, you get yourself a shamba somewhere, a piece of land somewhere. And then you retire from the job and you go and live on your land. Yeah, that's what it was. And so I haven't had enough examples in my own family about people in business. And I wish I did. And I hope I can change that for those coming after my generation, right? And so what that did for me, and I can still feel it doing for me, is I am so scared when it comes to starting a business. It's like, so petrifying. Currently, I run Legally Clueless Africa, which is my current main business. I have been in the process for like the last 3 years, no shame, of starting another business. I'm doing that business with someone else, but it's been so scary. It's been so scary. Like constantly just thinking about how many ways it's going to fail, you know? And then in the 3 years, I see other people launch similar businesses and I'm like, well, there's no point to me doing it. You know what I mean? Like just constantly amplifying the sound and the voice of fear as opposed to asking myself, what's the best that could happen? Okay, so in the 3 years, and I think in the last year, we definitely made a lot more progress and we would have constant calls, setting it up, doing our logos. We've done a shoot for most of the products. And then the voice of fear came again, like the closer we'd get to being super close to launching, fear would just like step it up, switch up the volume. And I would just get so scared. I don't know if up to now you have experienced the same thing. So anyway, fast forward, I had all my Excel sheets, because that's how I operate, color-coded Excel sheets. Like, then I feel comfortable and the fear can subside. So I had all of that stuff. I had suppliers laid out. We'd gone through all of that, etc. But I just hadn't reached out to the suppliers because fear. Then I sat down with the lady who's the guest speaker at our upcoming wellness talk that's all about business. And we were recording our random convo that's coming up in this episode. And there's something she said that I immediately started doing. She said when she was starting her business and there was fear, she would break down things that she needed to do into what can I do today to bring me closer to the actualization of this business? what can I do today? And I said, that sounds so simple, but it's so profound, because what I was doing was looking at the big picture about all that needs to be done. And then because it's overwhelming, I would use that as proof as to why I shouldn't do anything at all. And so I went home that day and I started, what can I do today? Well, not that day, got home late in the evening. What can I do tomorrow? What can I do on Monday? And let me tell you, in a span of 1 to 2 days, not a long time, in a span of 2 days, I've not only gotten in contact with our suppliers, I'm waiting on samples. I have someone, because some of the products need to be shipped in. I have already found someone who is going to help with sourcing in that country. Can you imagine that? Like, even saying it out loud, I'm just like, I can't even believe it, you know? And I already know that should we finalize everything, let's say this week, by next week, we'll have the products. All because of one thing that our wellness talk guest speaker said. I can't believe it. Like, even when I'm telling you this, I'm just like, what? And it doesn't mean the fear isn't there, but making it like, what can I do towards the actualization of this business? What can I do today? Today, what is that small thing? Oh, my days. That has really helped me. I just really wanted to start with that because I talk to our wellness talk guests all the time before they speak to you. But this is the first time I've seen like immediate results. And her name is Yvonne Kanyi. She has an incredible story about just always being inclined to business, selling a product from high school. And then she went to uni in the States, and the bug was still there. And she's back in Kenya, successfully running 2 businesses. Why I love that our events team picked her as our guest speaker is because, one, she talks in a language about business that we can understand. I feel like very many times people come out talking about business and they are trying to seem like they know everything and confuse it with big terminology, blah, blah, blah. When really, if you really understood what it is you were saying, you would be able to explain it in everyday language. So I love that she breaks down things in such an easy to consume way. That's one. The other thing is, I love that she's on the journey, currently on the journey, understands now in real time. So when she's talking to you, it's coming from that. And the third thing is, she's not trying to make it seem like she's all knowing. She is open and frank about mistakes as well. That's another thing. I feel like I watch a lot of interviews, etc., about people in business because I'm trying to get as much knowledge as I can, right? And many times you'll hear someone speak as though they've never made mistakes, as though their business has never failed or made a bad turn, or the environment was not favorable for the business in a certain season. And so what happens when someone talks like all things are perfect for them is you start doubting your own business and you're like, so is it me? Am I the one who's just making all the mistakes? So should I even be in business, you know? And what's refreshing about Yvonne is because she's open about the failures and the mistakes, you understand that they're part of the journey. They're not the whole story. They're part of the journey. So she's going to be talking to us on the 28th of June. It's a Saturday. Please invest in something that's good for you. It's at 10 a.m. and it's virtual, meaning wherever you are in the world, you can join us. And tickets are super subsidized. They're only 1,000 Kenya shillings, which you can grab right now. There's a link in the show notes. And some of the things Yvonne is going to be breaking down is what happens after you spot a business opportunity. What should you do next? What's the smart move, right? She's also going to talk about building a successful brand and business because in the world we live in now, the two help the other, right? One helps the other. Again, because of the world we live in, if you are thinking of starting a business or you're currently running a business, you've got to leverage content creation and social media. Honestly, like that's part and parcel of it. I cannot stress that enough. I've seen it with this business of mine, but obviously this is a media business, so it makes sense. But even in the other business, like we already have that rule out and we think about content creation and social media when we're talking marketing and advertising, right? Building customer loyalty. I love this so much because it goes hand in hand with community. And these are two things that Yvonne is going to talk about. And then she's also going to talk about scaling your business the smart way. One thing I love about the wellness talk is that you can send in questions, even anonymously, when you're attending. And I urge you to sign up so that if you have an idea, you can brainstorm it with Yvonne. Can you imagine us building a spider web of your idea and helping you figure out what content creation looks like for that business, what scaling your business looks like for that business? You know what I mean? It's going to be a safe space for us to learn and to, as a community, elevate our ideas, elevate our businesses. So 10 a.m., 28th of June. Tickets are 1,000 bob. Grab them in the show notes. And how's about you meet Yvonne now? Hello.
Hi.
It's really great to meet you.
Thank you.
I've interacted with your content online, and I think you do such an incredible job. And you break down even just the journey of entrepreneurship in a very vulnerable and open way. You help us with our skin. And so much more. Tell me about when your journey with business started.
Technically, in high school, I was in a boarding school and it was Adventist. So that meant like from Friday night until Saturday night is considered the Sabbath.
Okay.
So no business can happen during the Sabbath. So you can't buy anything with the canteen on a Friday night, on a Saturday. And meals on like Friday nights, I think used to be a bit earlier or sometimes they just were not good.
Yeah.
So people used to like to get noodles for dinner, but the canteen is closed. So I used to buy like noodles in like wholesale and then sell them to people.
I was just like, the Kenyan in you is about to pop up. Like where you're like, hey, there's a hustle here.
Yes, so I was like, there's an opportunity here.
Yeah.
There's also a time I used to do people's brows and then like they'd pay me here and there. But the more consistent thing was the noodles.
Yes.
And then they caught on to that and the school stole my business idea. But anyway, that was like kind of my first baptism into entrepreneurship and like making something out of nothing. Entrepreneurship kind of feels like magic, like there's nothing and then all this money. So yeah.
I feel like that's so interesting because you were learning about luxury goods like or products or services like the eyebrows and like necessities like food. And seeing that even during tough economic times, the food is still needed, right?
Yes.
And so when did you come back home? Because you run two businesses. We're going to get to that. When did you kind of formalize the business woman in you?
I'd say 2021 when I moved back to Kenya from the US where I was studying. So like mid 2021. So I feel like that's when I was like, okay, now I'm in business full time.
Yeah.
Because before that, I was juggling to school, a job, like another course. So it was like a side thing I used to do from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. before I clock into my job. So
what was the beginning like? What came first in terms of your businesses? Like, so it was a side hustle, but like take me through the beginning of that side hustle.
So it actually started as me spotting an opportunity, just like the noodles thing.
Yeah.
So a cousin of mine is married to someone who does this business where he ships things from the US to Kenya by sea. So sometimes to fill up the container, they buy like stuff that they can send and sell at home. So he bought this like big bag of cosmetics from someone on, I think, Craigslist or eBay. And being a man, he knew nothing about like makeup and skincare. So there's a bunch of like like mascara, primer, eyelash glue, all those things in there. So he asked me to come and help him like price the things so that when he sends them home, it's easy to kind of sell them. So at the time, I was part of a Facebook group called Glam Life. I don't know if you know it. It's a really big Facebook group for like beauty and stuff. So I just posted on there asking if people would be interested. I was not saying I'm selling. I just said, would you guys be interested in this? And then my DMs were flooded.
Wow.
People are like, oh, can you get me this? Can you get me this? Because back then, I think it was 2018, around 2018 or early 2019, if I'm not wrong. And there are not a lot of businesses that were importing like cosmetics from the West, which were pretty popular, like from YouTube. Because if we think about those times, just watch a little tutorials on YouTube, and you're watching like Jackie Aina, who is able to shop from Target. That's, you know,
You're just like, what is that she's using? Where can I get it?
So there's a lot of demand for those products.
Yeah.
So I started doing custom orders. So like Adele sends me a photo of this, I go and buy it from CVS and I ship it for you. Foolish business idea. I barely made a lot much money. Yeah, it was more work. I had not found a way to make it efficient. Such it was enough work for the money that I was making.
Yeah.
And then I would refuse to take deposits because I'm like, what if your things get lost? And then they don't get to Kenya and I have your money. So I started and stopped so many times because I'd start, then I'm like, okay, this is not benefiting me. And then, but there was just something in me that was like, let me just keep trying. So it was not until now late 2019, I was like, okay, let me start properly. And now I'd found something to tie me into it emotionally. So I was struggling with my skin at the time. I had really bad acne.
You could have fooled us. Like,
I do. Maybe I can find pictures and I'll share with you.
Yeah.
I had really bad acne and it really debilitated my confidence. So like the first semester of uni, I barely left my room. I used to leave to go for breakfast, come back, go to class, go back to my room. So go to work, go back to my room. Because it feels like every time you interact with someone, that's all they see is the acne, which is not true. So it really affected my confidence. So now I started learning how to actually take care of my skin and it's working. Like what I'm doing is working. Because I tried all the Pinterest remedies, the clay, the lemon turmeric. It was not working. So I was actually following some things I was learning online. I was like, do people know this? And I generally like to share the things that I've learned just with everything. So I started posting about it on social media. And people are like, okay, and the products. So then I started shipping the products, and then that's how it became more consistent. Yeah.
This is so interesting because I feel like even when you were buying things at Target, like individual or custom orders, it's like a waste of time in that moment because it's not running efficiently, but it's teaching you things, right?
So cookies for sure.
Yeah, every step matters. Okay, so you're learning all of this about skincare. How do you then translate it into, I'm going to share this with people and build a business around this?
Yeah. It almost kind of just happened organically. So like I told you, I like to yap, especially about things I've learned. So I'm always telling anyone around me, oh, did you know that the sun is yellow? Like such anything that I've learned. So because I had my Instagram at the time, that's why I was kind of just going to yap about things and happened to be about skin. I think because I also saw the impact of going from just winging it to actually following a formula. Like, do you guys know there's a formula to actually taking care of your skin? It's not abstract. You don't have to rely on professionals. You can figure it out on your own and it works. And so I think that's where it really stemmed from. And then now with time, there's a point where the job I was working, I realized I can't rely on this job. And that's like, I need to figure out my own source of income. And that's when I was like, okay, let me get now properly serious. So I was like, what if the 16 hours I used to work at my job, I put into my business?
It's the best that could happen.
And the best did happen. Well, it took quite a long time to see the fruits, but I started to see the benefits of now actually putting all my day into work. Luckily, it was summer, so there was no school. So I was able to put my entire day into work and into my business, and I really saw a big difference.
Yeah, because isn't it they say like whatever you water grows, right? And sometimes I think back in the day there was this idea that having 10,000 side hustles is the way to go. And I get it in terms of like spreading your risk and all of that.
Yeah.
But like in that format, they can only grow to a certain level. At a point, if you want it to be a big main thing, you're going to have to focus on it, right? Were you scared?
I'm always scared. Always. Like today as I was having breakfast, I was like, oh my God, 20 people rely on me for rent. It's just like, guys, what if tomorrow we don't make money? Like sometimes it just dawns on you that you wake up and you open your doors every day hoping that people come and buy from you. And it's a blessing. The people do come and buy and they come back tomorrow. And but I don't think we take time to be cognizant of customers are not guaranteed. So I'm scared all the time.
And you just have to do it despite the fear, right? So you move back home and what happens?
So I moved back home. Now all my focus is going into my business. I'm not splitting it between school, between a job. So all my time is going into Beauty Square. And I think also because now I was here, there's a lot of people who maybe had interacted with my content, but who are just like, I want to interact with you personally. So when the opportunity presented itself, then they came and we really kind of built a customer base off of that. And the business kind of just exploded. Like I remember that first month looking at our revenues. Well, if we made that now, I'd be really sad. But like in the moment, I was just like,
Yeah.
what? Yeah. It was not a lot of money, but like in my mind, I had never thought this business would actually get there. And I think maybe it's a limiting mindset that I have on myself, because even now I have a figure, if we get to, I'll still be like, what?
Yes.
Yeah. And the business started to now grow from there. And I think also because I was on the ground, I'm a lot closer to customer feedback, requests, and just knowing and understanding the market. Yeah.
At this point, before we even get to the second business and like a few learnings, what are the gaps you're seeing and how do you spot them and start solving for them? Yeah.
I think it comes from this like one-on-one interactions with clients, especially. One of my favorite things to do at work actually is just to sit at the cashier.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and not like transact anything. Just
Yeah.
as your Adele is checking out, be like, oh hi, how are you? Just talking to you, and
Yeah.
naturally you'll say something. Or even just from when I used to do facials, like talking to clients and them giving me their feedback and like, oh, can you do this? Can you introduce this? Like that, I think is the best way to get consumer feedback. Yeah.
Many business owners fear feedback because you take it so personally.
Yeah.
I get it. Like, this is your baby, you're growing it, and you think the world of it.
Yeah.
But I think the best way to grow is to listen to the people you're serving
Yeah.
and like what they would like change or more of. Because you could ask for feedback and they say, we really love ABCD. So now you know I need to do it more.
Yeah.
What is a day from when you were running Beauty Squared? You're back home, you're running it, you've gotten this first amount of money that's checked in, and you're like, oh my God, this thing can make money. What's a day you remember from that initial phase, like that was so validating, a day or an experience that you were like,
Yes, I remember. And now I think I was really foolish, but I remember there's a time I was looking at the M-Pesa till amount and I didn't know what to do with the money. Well, naturally, just to buy stock. And it didn't cross my mind. But back then, it just like ordering 100 pieces of something was like, no way. Like, I'm comfortable with 20, 30, 40.
Yeah.
So I feel like I had enough stock at the time. And I was like, what do I do with this extra money?
Yeah.
Well, I would waste it a lot back then. But I think those are moments that really come back to me a lot. And to think that I could build a business to a point where, okay, it's paying my rent, it's paying employees, it's paying the business rent, and all these surplus, which we don't know what to do. Yeah.
So after you get Beauty Squared on its feet, it's running. This is the business that I interacted with on your TikTok. And I think there was once I heard you responding to client feedback in such a wonderful, genuine way that I was so drawn in. I was just like, oh my God, this is like a space that listens to us. So kudos for that. What comes next after this first business?
So initially, actually, the business I'd come to start was what is now Sage. So where we offer services now like facials, body scrubs, massage, all of that. So like it was literally always in the back of my mind, like I need to start this. But then the more and more time that went between that initial of let's do this, the more and more scared I got, and the more I started to procrastinate. So before I left the States, I'd gone to aesthetic school. So by the time I was coming, I was pretty fresh off of school. But the more and more time that's passing, the more and more time that's like between me actually practicing. So I've kind of lost some of what had come to me. So in around, I think late 2022, that's when I decided to actually get some refresher training so that I could just start. I was like, I'm just going to start. So when we got this location in CBD for Beauty Square, what actually sold me was there was a room in the back. And I was like, okay, maybe finally I can start. It's not big, it's not grand, but it's a start. And I'm so glad that I took that step because that's what gave birth to Sage now. So that's how I started. And I started doing it myself. I was like, I'll just figure it out. So I am the one who used to do the facials like 4 days a week, like from 8 a.m. sometimes until 7 p.m. It was a really crazy season. And then I got pregnant at some point. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, the seed dream has not been delayed.
Yeah.
But then also like it just felt like a massive thing that I just didn't know how to conquer it. So what I did is at the beginning of 2024, I just said, I'm going to save a certain amount every month, like from the money that the facials is making. I just pay, the employee I have there and buy products, but all the rest of the money has to be saved.
Yeah.
So that's what I did for about 10 months. And I had some good amount of money. And then now in October, when an agent called me to go and see a house, because I told someone to just be like on the lookout.
Yeah.
So I went to her site, I was like, this is it.
Yeah.
I was like, let's proceed.
Yeah.
Those savings did not get me very far, but it was a good first step.
They
It was
got
a
you
good
somewhere.
yeah, it was a good first step, and that's how Sage was born.
Tell me about, because it's so interesting hearing you talk about, like, I was doing the facials myself for 4 days out of a week. I think we have a huge misconception about how glamorous business can be, and I would dare say not only the beginning days.
Yeah.
As the business owner,
Especially as it gets bigger.
yeah, your hands will keep getting dirty as you go. So how what's the misconceptions that we have about that?
I think when people think about being their own boss, they think about this glamour of waking up at 10 a.m. and lounging around, and then you go to work at 2 p.m., and then you come home at 4 p.m.
Yes.
And okay, maybe now you can do that every once in a while, but I think, especially depending on your personality, I'm very type A. So like I like things done the way I like things done. And if it's not being done the way I want, I will do it myself. So I feel like even as a business gets older, in as much as I've delegated, I just keep finding things to do. So like even if I'm there, I'll just be busy. But then also there are seasons that are just tough, and that's just what it is. I had to tough it out those like 8 or 9 months where I had to, physically be working for like 12 hours out of a day most days of the week, and then the other days you're doing admin and all of those things, and those seasons are going to coincide with also the seasons where you can go on a holiday for like 2 weeks. So I always say in business, take the lows with as much grace as you take the highs, because there's going to be both for sure.
Because they will be there,
They're
right?
both, yeah.
And so what I also want to know is, when you talked about mindset, and almost sometimes we play small. So like you're buying 20 boxes when you should get 100, right? How do you navigate that in your business? Yeah.
Well, one, like removing that decision from you helps. Or putting someone else to tell you, order 5,000 pieces.
Yes.
So I think that helps. But then also at some point the demand just becomes overwhelming and you're forced to do as much as you possibly can. But I don't know, this mindset, I've not cracked it, to be honest. But I think also surrounding yourself with people who have achieved what to you seems impossible is really helpful. Because like in my mind, like the other day I just saw an article, there's a skincare brand called Rhode, owned by I forget her name.
Hailey Bieber. Yes.
She sold for $1 billion.
Yes, I read that and I was just like, Allah.
Selling lip balms.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, why can't that be me?
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's several reasons. However, like
it can.
It can. But it's we just need to surround ourselves with that as much as possible in the content you consume, also the friends that you have. So I'm also trying to intentionally surround myself with friends in business who are doing really well, so that I get comfortable with, okay, maybe one day I can make $1 billion also. Yeah.
I love that, because I always tell people when I was starting my media business, some of the people I sat down with were like farmers, like super old men who farm, and just listening to how they move, because I'm fascinated by, it's like a perishable product. So you have, from when you harvest it, the timer has started as to when it needs to get sold. And I always tell people, surround yourself with business people who are also not even in your industry, because something can rub off, you know? Is there a moment, before I even get to our wellness talk, is there a moment where you felt a bit of calm, like, wow, I have achieved ABCD? Do you have those moments, or is there no time for those moments?
There's time for those moments.
Yeah.
I think it's an issue of not being able to pause to celebrate things. and we're working through that in therapy. Because it's like you work towards this thing for a long time, then you get there like, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
You don't even pause and you're like, wait,
Yes.
this is big.
Yeah.
So it takes a million people saying it to me that I'm like, oh yeah, this is big, but I'm already thinking about the next thing that I need to do. So I think it's that constant high of chasing this thing, then you achieve it, then you give yourself a even higher bar. So it's not healthy for sure, but I'm trying to learn to pause and be like, okay, we can sit and be happy in this.
Yeah. So we're so happy to have you speaking at our upcoming wellness talk. And I think one of the things I told you earlier, like I find I'm pretty good at, which is like spotting business opportunities, but where I suck is like, okay, now you've spotted
Execute.
execute. What are some of like your thoughts on that? Because it's going to be one of the topics you'll be touching on.
I have two different perspectives on this.
Okay.
So there's times where I've spotted an opportunity and I've taken advantage of it immediately, and times where it's also been the opposite.
Yeah.
So I had this little business that I had actually been putting in my journal since like 2022.
Wonderful.
But I didn't start it until towards 2023, like towards the end of 2023. It was just a business selling little things. It was actually called Little Things. So used to sell like Apple Watch straps. This is actually from that business, but I've since closed it. It was an interesting lesson in this entrepreneurship journey. So that took me a long time to execute, but it's just that analysis paralysis of okay, who's going to do this? Who's going to do this? But I think also at the same time, you can just figure it out as you go. So just take the first step. The first step is find a supplier. Okay, you'll figure out what to do tomorrow. So the other thing to help you kind of execute quickly is to break it down in a day-to-day task kind of thing. Then you'll find in 3 months, it's executed. So it's like, okay, what can I do today? Get closer to this. And that used to be one of my journaling prompts actually. So I'd write, this is my vision. Is to have this vision of like 7 income streams. Then I'd break down what they are, and then the next prompt would be like, what can I do today to get me closer to that? So one of those things was like content and monetizing my brand, which okay, it's taken like a few years to get here, but then it was okay, putting up a reel. That's manageable. But cumulated over the course of like 2 years, that has a lot of impact. So I think putting it down to the day-to-day, and then over time, you'll just find you've covered a distance.
I really love that, because I think what happens is I start seeing the big picture and it gets daunting. And I'm just like, nope.
Not me.
Let's look for another opportunity. That's the fun bit, because it's just like spotting, right? I also think it's interesting, and it'll definitely, I think, come up in the talk, because all our community members who are thinking of getting into business or who are in business do understand the rule of the digital world, right? I think there is a lot of gains it has for businesses, but then it's also overwhelming, because every day you're being told, don't do that, do this now and do this. And you can imagine if you're a business owner who has had no interaction with content creation, with social media outside of using it with your family and friends. What's like one key takeaway, so that, you know, we don't give everything away? You have to come for the talk. One key takeaway under that banner.
I love that question, because it's actually something I like talking about a lot, because there will always be so many new Instagram tips and cheats and the algorithm is this today, tomorrow it's that. My one governing rule is treat social media like a relationship. So the same things you would do to nurture a relationship with, like you, for example, talking to you every day, and not just talking at you, but like also trying to get your feedback and us engaging back and forth, right? Me asking questions like for feedback, like what content do you want to hear from me? What stories do you want to hear from me, maybe? And holding space for the feedback you have for me. That is the one cardinal rule, because technically the algorithm is going to reward what it sees people are engaging with. And engaging looks like people commenting on your content, replying to your stories and things like that. So if you focus on that, your content will grow inevitably organically. All the stuff like trendy audios and you know, those reels that cut very quickly.
Oh my God, I feel like I'm too old now. Like I'm just like, I can't keep up.
There will always be trends,
Yeah.
but that one cardinal rule will always stand. So the algorithm will reward engagement. So focus on getting engagement from your audience.
Yeah. You know what I like? Our talks are normally like structured where there's a Q&A, which can be anonymous if somebody feels like they're not, they can send in their questions.
Yeah.
And it would be nice to like brainstorm during the talk and be like, oh, okay, if this person has this business, what would content creation look like for you? Can we do a spider diagram and kind of break that down for you?
Yeah.
Because it really helps to hear from other people. I think also people sometimes battle with seeing themselves, or you're your own biggest critic.
Yeah.
So if you put up something
Yeah.
and it's like 20 likes, you're like, I knew it, I'm not good enough. But I always tell people, can you imagine holding your products, walking down the road, and 20 people stop you and say,
I like that.
Yvonne, I love Beauty Squared. Yvonne, I love that you guys have this. Imagine only one will make you be like, I'm running the best business in the world, you know? Will you also talk to us, this is like personal request, about failures on the journey?
Yeah, definitely. Open to that. Constantly failing, actually.
Yes. What would you say is like something you look back on and you're like, that was a failure that either I learned from or I didn't learn from quick enough?
Yeah. I've made very many mistakes. But I think everything has been a lesson. And if it didn't happen in the way it did, I would not be here for sure. So I mentioned to you about the employee who had been stealing from me. So me not realizing that sooner was definitely a mistake. I've made some wrong hires. I have made some business moves too quickly and strained the business cash flow. It's worked out now, but in the moment we were dying.
Yeah.
I was watching a clip from a few years ago and my shelves were empty.
Oh my goodness.
There'd be a shelf that has nothing, another shelf has like 3 products, and I'm just like, oh my God. Now we're okay, but then we were not. But I think definitely lessons to learn. But I feel like we are constantly making failures in as much as we are winning. I feel like they come in equal measure.
We also will touch on scaling your business. You know, when is the right, because that also ties back to the mindset, isn't it? Like, when in your journey, what did scaling look like? And how did you know this is the time to start?
Yeah. Okay, so there's 2 types of answers you could possibly get on this question. There's the one that tells you to be analytical and mathematical and run your numbers and all of that. But I feel like the older I'm getting, the more I'm leaning into my intuition. Because sometimes I'll make a decision in the moment, it looks like, what are you doing? And then it pays off because it's like, I just knew in my gut.
Trusted my guts.
Yes. So one, definitely make sure you have a market for sure. Don't go scaling a business that has no customers. But I think that listening to your audience as well, and then just go with your intuition. I feel like with time you just kind of know, because when I think about when we made the move from like, we had a really small shop in like Salmo, like half this room is even big, to now where we are in CBD, like a storefront. It was intuition. It was very much like I stood up and I called the agent. I was like, find me a store, and we went looking for a store. I was like, I'll take it. I had no money, but I was like, I'll take it.
Wow.
And moments like that, I think it was intuition for sure. Yeah.
Because sometimes people, you get scared. You're like, oh God, rents.
Yeah, you start over analyzing the mathematics. Well, do the mathematics because you still have to pay rent. But me, my advice is listen to your gut.
There's a room for God.
There's a room for gut, but then also a room for the vision of the business that you want. Because the math can tell you one thing, but then maybe that's not what you want. Like the math might tell you we can actually afford to open 20 branches, but you don't want 20 branches. Actually, you want a smaller location, or you want to buy like a big house, a big compound, and then that is what you want. So I think we need to stop like listening too much to the conventional advice, because there's more than one way to live life. There's more than one way to build a business, and at the end of the day you have to live with the business that you've lived with. So build the business you want, basically.
And so what would the person who is thinking of signing up for the wellness talk walk away with after they've interacted with you?
Feeling validated, hopefully hopeful, and empowered.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. My goodness. It's been great having this chit chat with you, and there's like some gems you've shared that I'm just like, even for me, I feel like, okay, I'm not the only one who's fearing doing certain things for my business. And if you check out the show notes or the description, there's a link to the wellness talk for you to get more details. It's on the 28th of June at 10 a.m. It's virtual, so wherever you are in this beautiful big world of ours, you can chime in. And this is for not only those of you who have started the business journey, but if you're thinking, if you've spotted a business, or like Yvonne, you had it in your journal, you had this business idea, this is a talk for you to attend. Thank you so much for watching or listening to this episode. I'll catch you at the Wellness Talk. That's it for this episode of Legally Clueless. You can share this podcast with your friends. You can keep it for yourself. I'm not judging. Just make sure you're here next week for the next episode.